Ah, good evening. Welcome to Faith and Calm. This is class number 219. Excuse the change in the eyewear. I'm still recovering from that cataract surgery, so I'm supposed to be wearing the UV glasses for a while until that clears up. So, where are we? Tonight is Rosh Chodesh Elul. And the king is in the field. We talked about that last week a little bit. Um, I thought it's such an important topic, and it's also was very helpful for me this week dealing with the recovery from the a lot of things. That I would just continue with some stories and fill in the blanks about what this means that the king is in the field. So the Alter Rebbe really transformed our understanding of this entire month, because until now it was basically people read the Ramah in the Shulchan Aruch, and it says, you're supposed to blow the shofar every single day of the month of Elul. Why? Because the king is coming and the day of judgment is coming, and it's to instill fear and not dread, but because I don't think we have a word for dread in Hebrew. Yira, that the day of that Rosh Hashanah is coming. So that was generally the cue and the theme that people had for the upcoming Yom Narayim. And I remember reading that. That was, it seemed right. And Shlomo Shudas went to yeshiva, seminary, and that was the dominant theme there. And I just think that it's good to have a deeper understanding of really what this is supposed to mean. So the Alter Rebbe, as we said last week, he said, the theme of this coming month, Elul, is from the Rosh Tevos, the acronym. It starts with Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed, Ani Ladodi Vadodi Li. It's a month of love. It's from Shir Shirim. It's a month of closeness to Hashem. That I am for my beloved. And so it seems like the theme of the month should really be, and needs to be changed over to one of reconnecting and reestablishing a relationship. Because, as you know, historically, what the whole story was about is that the very first Yom Kippur that the Jews celebrated was in the wilderness, and that came after there was the Chet HaEgel, the golden calf, and there was a severing and a breaking of the relationship. It looked like such a nice marriage there, on Shavuos, and then the Jews 40 days later messed up, and the relationship was on the rocks, and it might have been over. But Moshe pleaded and begged, and on Yom Kippur, God said, "I forgive you, salachti k'dvarecha," and that's when the real relationship began again. And really continued, is because that's all relationships, is closeness and a little distance and then coming close again. If it's real, it can withstand any winds or any other kinds of storms. So the theme is closeness. So let's think about that. So let's pull that apart. That's what the Rebbe does in a mimer. He says, Ani Ladodi, I am for my beloved. It sounds like that's love and getting closer. But on the other hand, there's this other thing. What happened here with the colors?
It's okay. It changed when the sun sets.
Yeah.
The computer changes its colors.
Thank you. My face did not change on the sun.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Anila Dodi Vadodi Li, my beloved is for me. So which is it really? Is it Elul is I am trying to get closer to Hashem, but Dodi Li seems to be the opposite. God wants to get close to us. And that really, and especially when you know that the way that the Tzemach Tzedek explains it is that the Ani Ladodi happens during the month of Elul, and the response on Rosh Hashanah is then Dodi Li. When you do what you have to do to get closer to Hashem, then He responds back much bigger and much more powerful. Excuse me.
Tissue?
Excuse me. I don't know where that came from. It was not a cold sneeze. It was just a sneeze. And Interesting thing with the body is anyway.
Go ahead.
Odie Lee, that he is for us. So Elul is really about the time of getting close, us trying to initiate the relationship, not so much God coming into the relationship. Um, and so now we have a problem. Even in Elul, it's love is about you coming closer to Hashem, and Odie Lee is about him coming closer to us. So which one is it? And then we have this contradiction also about is it a month of awe because we still blow the shofar? And what is the blowing of the shofar the whole month of Elul all about? If it's not about, it's not doesn't sound like a love call. It sounds like something scary, serious. So it's so to untangle this conundrum and to really get to the bottom of what the field is about, the Alter Rebbe, of course, brings the famous mashal about the king in the field, and that the entire month of Elul, the king makes himself available, but in a hidden way. He doesn't overpower us. He doesn't impose himself on us. He comes out. He wants to greet every single Jew, and he wants to get close to them, and he makes himself available. And whatever request that you want, you can ask for this month. And this month is the time of being able to approach the king. Now that means as follows. That means if the king is undercover, then he's not in the form of overpowering us or arousing us. He's waiting for us to take the initiative. He wants us to take the first step. And when we take the first step and when we say we want to be close, then he responds with a glowing face, and he receives everybody with a pleasant face, and then with a glowing countenance. And that is the theme of Elul. The Elul is we are not, he's not overpowering us. He's not inspiring us. But
He's not inspiring us.
We're not inspiring us. He's not doing anything yet, but he's making himself available that if we make our effort. So the way I thought about it this week is as follows, there's certain times where all things in your life are very difficult. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but everything is difficult and harsh, and you don't have any energy and any enthusiasm, and it doesn't seem like you're ever getting out of this dark, long tunnel and so forth. And it necessarily, sometimes it doesn't even seem like it's getting any better. And at those particular times when you hit rock bottom, if that's ever happened to anybody here, then that's really when you're actually very close to Hashem. That's like the moon; it disappears for a certain time. Sometimes the inspiration and the development, and when you say, you know what, and the only way I'm getting out of this is by getting closer to Hashem. That itself, when you feel, you know what, I'm really dependent on Him, and I know He's there, and I know He's present, and I know He's interested in my life at that point in time. That is when you are not being given it's not coming from outside of you, it's really coming from the deepest part inside of you. So Rosh Hashanah is about him coming from outside and inspiring you from outside. For love there has to be an inspiration. When there's just awe, when there's just a shofar, usually it's not about something that's inspiring, but it's about somebody realizing it's a bigger situation that I'm aware of. It's a bigger event that I'm involved in here. And therefore, right now, what I have to do is do what I have to do and and do everything I can to arouse myself and to find inspiration, because I know God is present. And if I pay attention to that, and I pay attention to the little things that are going on in my life, then actually that is the ultimate level of tshuva, because it's all coming from inside of me. And that deepest part inside of me is connected to the deepest part of Hashem. And that is the opportunity that we have with Elul. And Elul is not necessarily somebody. I remember I was once doing Soyam on the street, and he said, I'll believe in God if He shows Himself. That's Him doing all the work. He wants to know about us. He wants to know what's happening with us. He wants to know where we are at. So when we come with our own capabilities and our own abilities and put our own feelings into our prayers, and we actually put the effort into actually feeling and experiencing, not just saying the words, but actually experiencing the closeness to Hashem, then that's what actually causes this transformation. transformation that comes, and it's a big transformation on Rosh Hashanah, where he actually then reveals himself in all his glory, and we actually bask in that Tishrei. So a story that I think that maybe makes this a little bit more real, and I'm almost sure I've told this before, but it's a great a story for this time of year at Teshuvah, is a story from the book called Small Miracles by Yetta Halberstam. That's her name, I think, I believe. Yes. And I relate very much to the story. So the story is about, I guess it's back in the 60s. There was a boy named, a teenager, Joey Rifkin is his pseudonym in the book. They don't give his real name. Grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Yep, that's where Cleveland is. And in a religious family. His father was a Holocaust survivor, had been through, lost almost all his family. And instead of running away from Yiddishkeit, his father made a vow that, he was going to do everything possible to make sure that his kids continued and blossomed and renewed all those Jewish souls that had been lost in the Holocaust, and all his family members. So he was very committed. He sent his kid to day school. He kept all the mitzvahs at home and so forth. And Joey grew up in that environment. But it was the 60s. And at one point in time, the spirit of the age came over him, and he put on, the usual blue jean uniform, and told his father he's running away, he's going off to India. His father had instruction from his friends and says, don't get so upset. Everybody wants to spread their wings and wants to do their own kind of stuff and so forth. He'll come back, and so forth. It's just the age that they're going through right now. So his father said, fine, do what you want to do. I mean, it's okay, but, keep in touch and so forth. But the things went on, and Joey also told his father that he's dropping everything about Yiddishkeit. And at that point in time, his father lost it, got extremely upset at him, and said certain things that, just came from the depth, because, like you said, he was, his whole life was about trying to build the family back up again after the Holocaust. They said, I don't want to ever see you again. You're not my child anymore. If you cut yourself from Yiddishkeit, don't call me. And then Joey says, fine. And he goes off to India. And he wanders around in India from guru to guru, from ashram to ashram, doing the whole thing in the 60s, whatever it was. And hanged out with, other Jewish kids and other people who were doing the same thing. And eventually he came across a girl. Her name was Sarah, and she came from a similar background. She also had come from a religious family, and was also, trying to become more free, and was hanging around and doing India. And they hung together for like 6 years, and they felt very connected. Somebody understood, me and my background and so forth. And they used to say that they were soulmates. They really were meant for each other. And they wandered around from place to place in India. And this went on for, like I said, 6 years, according to the story in the book. Anyway, at one point in time, they were wandering in Bombay. And Joey saw his old friend Sammy. Wow, Sammy, how you doing? I didn't know you were in India. And they talked about their town and where they grew up and so forth. And then Sammy said, and I'm so sorry to hear about your father. And Joey goes, what about my father? He says, oh, you didn't hear? I'm sorry, I have to tell you. A few months ago, he passed away. And Joey goes, what? And Sammy said, nobody told you? Nobody knew where I was. So Joey asked, what did he die of? A heart attack. And so Joey says, you know what that heart attack was? That was me. I caused my father that heart attack. And for the next few days, Joey couldn't sleep, was inconsolable. Sarah tried to do what she could, but finally, after a few days, he said, Sarah, I don't know anything else that I can do. I'm going to have to go to Israel. I feel there's a pull there for me, and somehow the answer to what I did to my father is going to be in Israel. And Sarah sort of wrinkles her nose. I don't know how you wrinkle your nose, but she wrinkled her nose and said, Israel? Ew. Isn't that everything that we tried to get away from? And Joey says, I think I have to go there. So she says, okay, I'll go with you. So they go to Israel. And when he gets there, he says, Sarah, I have to go pray. She says, go, fine, go to a synagogue. He says, no, I have to go to the Kosel. So they get into an argument and a fight. And Sarah says, I think we have to split up. And Joey says, but I thought we were soulmates. I thought we were, we really connected together. And Sarah says, I thought so too. I thought we were all aligned, but I guess we're no longer in alignment anymore. And so you have to do your thing and I have to do my thing. And so they split up. So Joey goes on his own to the kosel. He does the usual thing. He finds a siddur, he finds a yarmulke, he's praying there, he's crying. He sees other people sticking notes in the kosel. And so he also gets a piece of paper and writes down a note and sticks it into the kosel and, addresses it to his father, asking his father's forgiveness and hoping that somehow that, he will get a message back in some sign in some way that, that he's been forgiven by his father. And he goes and he stuffs it into the kosel. Now, as you know, everybody knows, the kosel is full of notes. And sometimes when you stick one in, another one comes out, which is what happened with him. He found the spot, but it just pushed another thing out. And he was upset, that he pushed somebody's note out. But then he, for some reason, he felt he had to read this note. So he opens up the note and he sees on the note, it says, "Dearest Joey." He says, I don't know how by some miracle, if this note happens to reach you, I want you to know that I regret all the words that I said, and you'll always be my son. I'll always be connected with you, and I hope that you will be able to forgive me, and that this note will eventually find you. And it's signed Adam Rickless, I guess, Cleveland, Ohio. And Joey is blown away. I mean, he got a note from his father. He got a note. And he goes to a yeshiva. He enrolls. And after 3 years, he's already well on his way to becoming a rabbi in Israel. And his Rosh Yeshiva says, you've really improved. One day he calls him aside, said, you've really grown. And I think it's now time you're ready for start thinking about a shidduch. My wife runs a women's seminary, and she says, she thinks she's got the ideal girl for you. She also comes from a similar kind of background of you. And let's make a meeting later tonight in the house, and you'll see her, and you'll see if you like her. So he goes, and he opens up the door to the living room, and who does he see on the couch sitting there? She's as shocked as he is. It's Sarah. It's his soulmate. She's shocked. He's shocked, and he says to Sarah, "I don't understand. What are you doing here? I thought you were opposed to all this stuff." And she says, well, I thought, since I already made the trip and made the flight, and before I go back to India, maybe I'll see a little bit about Israel. And I began to like it. I met the people. I saw the other things. And so I ended up in the seminary, and here I am. And so Joey says, so so I guess we're back aligned again. And she says, I think we are. And that was the story. And I think it's a tshuva story. Many times we go through interesting paths in our lives, and we get very unaligned, and we get unconnected, and we are, but it's all for a purpose of actually digging deeper and finding a truer connection and a truer relationship with Hashem. It doesn't come easy. There's a lot of tears in life. There's a lot of difficulties in life. But in those difficulties and in those dark places, actually, that's where you really develop, and you develop a truer, more honest, more real, more solid, more true connection to God, because God is everywhere. And when the enticements and the nice things are not there and so forth anymore, then it's really coming from the deepest level inside of ourselves. And I think that is a good theme for Elul and Tshuva. Now my wife has some good story.
The title that you made.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay, good. The title I made, Tracting in Miracles. Good question. Yes. Good question. So I think that is the miracle. Yeah, I think that is the miracle, that through this, there's miracles that are given to you, and you didn't work for them, and you didn't do anything, and you may not even notice it. There's the day-to-day wondrous kind of stuff, but the smiling, these two phrases that the Alter Rebbe uses in the Anidah Dodi, that when you approach Hashem, when you approach Hashem from yourself, then He receives you. Makabel panim, makabel kol adam panim yafa. He receives everybody with a nice face, and also with a mara panim shachoros, a glowing face. That's the miracle. The miracle is coming from a higher level than what you would normally have just gotten if He did all the work. Now you're actually tapping into a higher level of reality. And that is what he's saying. Anida Nodi, when I approach the king and I approach him honestly and with all of the tools that I have at my disposal, then his response, his miraculous response, is a miraculous. You don't know what's going to be. You don't know how he's going to come back. He's going to respond to you. It wasn't planned. It wasn't logical. It's above your logic. It's above your knowledge. It's above everything. And that's how God responds. He responds in a way that only God can respond. So I think that's the miracle. That how you attract the miracle. That help at all?
Say it again.
So that's to say it again. I think we'll try again later next week. We're
Okay.
now at this point in time, so we'll.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. How's the recording going here? Good. Okay.
Yeah. We all have. Eskil and I are both dealing with maladies. Okay. Good to see everybody. And Dina, I'd love to see your face. And anyway, I'm very happy to see you all. Does anybody have anything they want to say before I begin? Okay, I'll begin. So I'm gonna keep it short. I'm gonna say the four things that I always say, which is number one, we're in an extraordinary time. We're in, I life is just very extraordinary. Extraordinary things were happening, and when I say extraordinary, I mean that we are. The Rebbe explained to us in 1992, and the Rebbe was never wrong about any public prediction he made. He said we are entering the time of the redemption. We are in December 1991. The Rebbe says, in the days of Yemos and Mashiach, which we now find ourselves in. That's one of the ways the Rebbe said it. And Yemos Mashiach is a definite term, and the Rebbe never said that before. He said Yemos Mashiach was approaching, and he said in December 1991 we are already in it. So number two, our souls were all handpicked to be in this unique time because we are important. We have an important role to play, each one of us. Number three, we were given all the tools we need to navigate this time. We were given the Torah, which is our guidebook, and we were given the mitzvahs, which are our power tools. The most transformative things in the way to transform yourself is mitzvahs. They are the most powerful self-transformation tools. In addition to changing the whole world, they change the person who does it for the better. And finally, what we're doing tonight, learning about the redemption, actively advances it. The Rebbe said there's nothing that speeds up the redemption, the unfolding of the redemption faster than learning about it. So I want to talk a little bit about this month, which we just, as the sun went down, we just entered Rosh Chodesh Elul. It is still, Rosh Chodesh Elul is a two-day experience. It's going to be, it's Tuesday and Wednesday, and starting from sunset tonight, and the whole month of Elul is an extraordinary time. And the Rebbe tells us that those 2 days are the 2 days of Rosh. The entire month of Elul is a time of spiritual accounting. In this month, I had a roommate once, and she made an Elul account book. She did the right thing. She made an accounting of all the things in the past that she did and what was good and what was bad from the past year, and then she made an account for the future. And that's exactly what we're supposed to do. And the Rebbe says, because we have 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, the first one, in other words, tonight and tomorrow until sunset, should be used it is a spiritually powerful time to make an accounting of the year that is elapsing, that we're finishing. And the second day of Rosh Chodesh, which will be Wednesday, is an auspicious time to make a plan for the future. Now, so so okay, so I want to say a few more things about Elul that I might have said it last week, but it's a very powerful uh, metaphor. And Elul is, as Yeskashon was saying, Elul is a time of the king in the field. How do we experience the king in the field? It is totally subliminal. It's not Hashem. From Rosh Hashanah through Sukkot and pretty much through the end of Tishrei, it's like Hashem is, I am here. You can feel Hashem. Hashem is palpable. So many people. It is a statistical fact that many people come back to Judaism in the time from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur and to Sukkot. It is a time that just Hashem's presence is blazing, and Jews even far away feel that. I myself made the decision to be an Orthodox Jew on the second day of Rosh Hashanah in 1988, 1986, 1986. And it's just a very, very powerful time. It's hard to miss it. Elul, you can sleep through the whole thing because it's entirely subliminal. And but Elul is powerful. Don't mistake it. And Elul is one of my rabbis. I think it was Rabbi Paltiel, described Elul as a moving. In the airport, we just came back from an airport. They have the moving sidewalk. Elul is like a moving sidewalk. If you put in the, you're walking on the moving sidewalk, but with that walking that you're doing on the moving sidewalk, you're getting so much farther than the people that are walking on the carpet. And that's what Elul was like. With the same amount of effort, you get much, much farther. So if you put a little more effort into davening, you get a lot farther. You feel different things. So, and if you want to do teshuva in something, you have more hatzlacha, you have more success in Elul. So I want each one of us to take it seriously, because not only because of Elul, but because of the extraordinary time that we're in. We are in the beginning stages of redemption. The world, we cannot understand the world. It's upside down, inside out, absolutely crazy stuff. And absolutely crazy stuff. However, there is, if we take advantage, the Geula is unfolding, and if we take advantage of, if we don't just live it like, what else is new? If we live it, that the Geula is unfolding, you will see that you can change personally. You will see that you have more hatzlacha in becoming the person that you always wanted to be. I suggest, taking a little part of davening and investing energy in it, or taking benching and investing energy in it. And in Elul, that energy that you invest will get you farther. Then it's more of a struggle to do it in Tammuz. It's more of a struggle to do it in Sivan. But in Elul, when you do it, you get more back for your buck. So anyway, I would advise all of us to take advantage of it. And not only because of Elul, but because we are so close to the total unfolding of the redemption. Because we're so close, there are energies in that are available that can take you very, very, very far. I feel I'm experiencing that, and I feel it's a reality. So I also want to say on a practical note that Elul is the time when it's an awesome time. It's a time when to check your mezuzahs. And it's the classic month of the year that we check our mezuzahs. And the halacha is that the Jewish law is that you need to check your mezuzahs at least twice every 7 years. In Chabad, we tend to check it every Elul, and it's an important thing to do. I'm going to tell you a little story about mezuzahs, and it's from one of my books that I like very much. It's out of print, but it's really a really nice. It's an entire little book about miracles that happened with tefillin and with mezuzah. So there was a woman. I can even get her name. There's a woman, and let's see. Let's get her name here. Yeah, her name is Cyril Weinbaum, and you can find her story on Living Torah. She told it. There was a little video of it. So when she was given birth to her son Levi, well, she was giving birth. She was in the hospital giving birth, and during labor, the doctors told her, "Your baby is stuck. He's stuck in the birth canal. He's too far down for us to get him through a cesarean section. It's up to you. You have to push now very hard, because if you don't get him out in 5 minutes, it's very likely he's going to suffer brain damage from lack of oxygen. So go for it." And so she pushed and pushed and pushed with all her might. She must have had an epidural or something, but she pushed and pushed and pushed with all her might, and she heard something. She heard a loud crack, two loud cracks coming from her body. The baby, thank God, was born in time. She did a good job pushing, but she found out afterwards that she broke two of her vertebrae. And 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 I guess there were bad breaks. And there's nothing. I don't know. Is there anything you do for broken vertebrae? I don't think so. There's just bed rest. That's all there is. My mother broke vertebrae, and I think back then, at least, it was just bed rest. I think it's still the case. There's not much you can do. So this happened to be her 11th child. So she had 11 not so old kids hanging out there, and she didn't know what to do. She was like in agony, and she when she would have to return to the hospital for some reason, she would tell them, I can't do anything. I'm in agony. I can't even hold my baby. I'm having tremendous difficulty managing my family. And the doctors, because they knew that she had 11 kids, she was an oddity for them. They said, "Well, don't you expect it to be a little difficult with 11 kids?" They just didn't get it. She's in terrible pain. So anyway, they wrote to the Rebbe, and for some reason they didn't get an answer. And so they had a friend who was going to Crown Heights, and they told the friend, "Ask the Rebbe for a blessing for us, because it's not doable. This situation is not doable." She could not sit whatsoever. She could not sit up whatsoever, and she could stand. But she felt horrendous pressure in her back when she stood. The only thing she could really do is lie flat on her back. That was the only thing she could really do. And as a mother of 11 kids, she was very difficult to. What are you going to do? It's very she couldn't spend her life laying down, and so anyway, she didn't know what to do. So the friend goes to Crown Heights, asks the Rebbe, and the Rebbe says, "Check the mezuzahs." And so he comes home, he tells them, they take the mezuzahs down immediately. They send it all the mezuzahs in the house. They send it to a sofer, a person who writes and checks mezuzahs. And the sofer said all the mezuzahs in the house were fine, except for the mezuzah in the kitchen. Now, the kitchen is where she spent most of her life as a mother of 11. And in the mezuzah of the kitchen, in the words in the mezuzah, the mezuzah has parts of Shema in it, and it says where all the words of V'shivtecha b'veisecha, when you sit in your home, the backs of all those letters were broken. They were all cracked, and they were shocked when she couldn't sit, and all those words were cracked. And so they got a new mezuzah, and Baruch Hashem, her back healed beautifully. Now the doctors, when they had figured out the severity of her broken back, they told her that they had told her that she was going to end up in a wheelchair, and uh, yeah, they thought she was gonna end up with a spinal disc prolapse, whatever that is, and that she would end up in a wheelchair, and and because she checked her mezuzah, she not only got completely better, but after Levi, who was number 11, she had Mushki, Shmuley, and Mendel. She ended up having 14 kids, three more after that, and at this point, whatever, the kid who came out and broke her back is nicely married. And anyway, so now I remember when I first became religious and I started hearing these stories, I was thinking, better not to have a mezuzah. There's something, and I completely didn't understand it. The mezuzah doesn't cause a calamity. Mezuzah is a reflection of something that's going on in your home. And by fixing the mezuzah, you can fix the unfortunate situation that's causing what's happening in your home. So the mezuzah is totally a wonderful thing to have. And as Rabbi Raskin, the author of this book, points out, that when we check our mezuzahs, we don't only check the scroll, we also make sure that the mezuzah is hung properly. Lots of times mezuzahs are hung upside down, or they're hung at the wrong angle. They need to be hung with the top on the right side of the doorway as you walk into a room, with the top part headed at an angle, pointing sort of into the room, and also the height of the mezuzah. It's most people hang their mezuzahs way too high, according to at least the Chabad Shita, and maybe it's just the general halacha. You divide the doorway into three sections, and let's say your doorway is 60 inches high. So there's the first 20 inches, the second 20 inches, and the third 20 inches. You put the mezuzah, the base of the mezuzah, the bottom part of the mezuzah, right over there. The bottom part of the mezuzah sits on the bottom of the top third. So if the door was 60 inches high, the bottom of the mezuzah would be on inch 40, and would point, and would be from the bottom of it would be on 40, and it would point up and pointing into the room. So anyway, I want us all to, and if anybody wants to schmooze about it next week, I want us all to take seriously the power of this month, and you know, even today, like things that have been plaguing me, I thought, how am I gonna, what should I do about this? And great idea came to me. So it's a powerful time. It's a time when Hashem is available, and you can get help with problems that you didn't see an answer to before. So anyway, I'm going to stop speaking. I'm going to turn off the recording. And if anybody has any questions, then I'd be happy to hear it.